This is Paul McGann, and you're listening to the Fiveish Fangirls podcast.
The Tangents and Squee continue all the way to episode 503 of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. And if you think I had not added enough to my calendar with PopCon, I'm tired. But that's okay. I'm going to tell you all about it. Brain broken, but that's okay. I had fun.
It was worth it.
Yeah,
you kind of have a reason for your brain being a little...
That is true. Oh my goodness, the stories I've got to tell you. Anyway, welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join the madness. Let's start off like we're doing right from the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Courtney in Bengal.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello, and yay, the gang's all here.
Yay! Yep. So, yeah, last week was just like, I needed like 2 days to recover from PopCon, at least.
That's fair.
And then I immediately jumped into, let's do 5 million more things. It's a holiday weekend in, in this country.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
How much can we cram into it?
Hope everybody had a good 4th for those who celebrate, and for those who don't, neener, we had a good time.
Maybe you blew up something just for fun and solidarity. Who knows?
Possibly. Fireworks are awesome.
Stuff's been booming here for weeks.
Yep.
Oh, ain't no stopping
Nope.
till you run out of fireworks. Nobody's run out yet, at least in not my neighborhoods and adjoining neighborhoods.
Hey, my kids love it, so I'm like, have fun, guys.
That's good.
We just watched the neighbors set stuff off, and I'm just like, hey, there's our entertainment for the evening.
Mm-hmm. That's good if they're enjoying it. So
Yes.
oh my. Well, not a whole lot in the way of news. That's probably because Fandom Christmas is coming up in a few weeks. So
Yeah.
Yep.
things are all quiet on the Western Front until it all comes out of the Western Front. And by that we mean West Coast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. But we do have a little bit of stuff to talk about, including the fact that I did not know that this was going to be a thing, but I'm quite excited because I love this movie. We are getting a sequel to The Devil Wears Prada. It's in production right now.
All right.
I did not have that on my bingo card for 2025. Let's just put
I
it that way.
did not either. So
Kind of came out of left field, but I'm like, okay.
Hey.
yeah, I was like, oh, that's a thing
are
we're
fun.
doing. Okay, but like everybody, like Anne Hathaway, Stanley Tucci, Meryl Streep, but like everybody's coming back. So, I mean, what it's going to be about, I have no idea because there was only ever the one book. So, so I don't know if they're potentially, I don't know if I can't remember her name, the gal that wrote the book, if she's involved in the script in any form or fashion. I don't know. So release date TBD. I mean, it's not going to be, it's not the type of movie that has like a lot of post-production. There's no it's not CGI heavy or anything. So
I'm sure we'll hear about it. So
yeah. Well, maybe they're like, hey, there's a Broadway production. Elton John's involved. Maybe this is time to
Strike while
ride
the
the
iron's hot.
coattails.
Yeah.
I don't know. But hey, I am here for it. I think that's I read the book. I mean the book not the movie in the book. The movie is loosely based on the book. Andrea is much less likable in the book than she is in the movie. So some of that also happens to be that it's Anne Hathaway. So but yeah, we'll see what happens. So, and maybe if for anything else, I am going to be there for the wardrobes. So, because oh my goodness, if I could just reach into that movie and steal some of Anne Hathaway's outfits, I would be like, yes, please. I will take that and that and that and throw it in my closet. So there is that. And then in the Doctor Who universe, Verse Books is releasing I guess an anthology would be the best description of various Doctor Who related stories, essentially filling in the gap where we had the wilderness years. So but yeah, so it's a bunch of different authors with a bunch of new stories in the Doctor Who universe. It's because it's the wilderness years, there's going to be a lot of, and also because of copyright, gonna be like a lot of original characters and the like. But it's kind of fun to like read these and imagine how you could fit them into canon. So, and this is actually a charity fundraiser. So you can pre-order it. The book, I mean, it's a decent sized book, it's 375 pages. So
yeah.
But you can go ahead and pre-order it now, and the money is going towards I guess the people that run this organization is going to a friend of theirs that has bone cancer.
Is it the one that Party Like It's 1998?
Yep. Yeah. So get you some unofficially official.
I wanted to make sure because I was like, this sounds familiar. I pre-ordered
you shared it in the chat,
and I want to make sure.
Yeah, you're the one that shared it.
Yeah, I was making sure that was the one. How much have I shared lately in the Doctor Who chat?
Well, yeah, that's true. Yes.
Wibbly wobbly timely wimey.
Yeah, that is true. So there is that. And
it sounds like there's going to be stuff from the Eighth Doctor adventures in the the Virgin adventures from this, if I'm reading it correctly.
So I am pricing wise, it is in British pounds. Right. So you may want to figure out but the United States they can ship to the US. So that is an option. You've got a good chunk of the world actually. So yeah. And a lot of Europe. So yeah, just know that there may be some adjustments in your total because of the conversion rate. But yeah, Doctor Who and for a good cause. Woo! Yep. Always a good thing. And then in your feed, latest episode of Gold Standard, the Oscars podcast, which is our first Norwegian film.
Interesting.
Finland, not Norway. Scandinavian. It's our first Scandinavian movie. So technically it's not our first foreign film, because obviously Parasite won Best Picture.
Right.
But this is I think our first black and white foreign film. Uh, so, yeah, I mean, if you just read the description like IMDb, I don't think it really gives a good idea of what the movie's actually about, honestly. And if I was to give you like my own like one sentence description, it's about a young bride who lives out in the snowy outlands of Finland. I'm not sure exactly how that works. Uh um in this village, and through making a bad deal with a shaman, she becomes a murderous reindeer,
As you do.
as you do. So they refer to some of the descriptions refer to her as a vampire or vampiric reindeer. I don't think vampire really fits. Honestly, I think just murderous is more accurate. But yeah, I think this film could be somewhat up into interpretation on whether you want to take it as is, is it just a scary movie? Is it supposed to be like a morality tale? Like what, like what the original versions of some fairy tales are, where they, without the Disneyfication, you realize that they're like darker. But that's because they were supposed to, like, try and teach kids a lesson, like, don't do this, kids, or you'll end up like this. So it just depends. But it made for a very interesting conversation, to be perfectly honest. I was not entirely sure what I was getting myself into when I was told that this is what we were going to be doing, but after watching it, I was like, oh, okay. Interesting. So, but that is in the feed for y'all. And then also in the feeds by now, hopefully, I believe it went through, should be my recap of Indie PopCon.
Yep, it popped up. I got
Yep.
the little Spotify notification that, oh, it's here. New episode.
Yep. Nice little bonus, little extra squee for you all. Trying to cram in 3 days into a non 5 million year long rambly recap. Testing my limits of making sure that I shut up. Yeah, so that is there available for y'all. And then pictures, as I say in my recap, pictures from PopCon are on our Facebook page, so you can see those, and video will be coming forthwith at some point. So there is that. And of course, we are in a new month, so that means book club updates.
Yep. Well, book for this month, it's audiobook, The Rani Elite. That was the winner. And then our book poll choices for the month of August are The Planet of the Rani, Eden Rebellion, Doctor Who, Frida Kahlo and the Skull Children, and Doctor Who, Charles Darwin and the Silurian Survivor. Make sure you head over and take your vote, and discussions are open for any previous books and audiobooks, so feel free to drop your comments and thoughts. I was half tempted to post our podcast episode in the comment section. I still might.
Yeah, I was like, go right on ahead.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, the podcast discussion does much better than I could trying to type it out. So, sweet. All right. Fandom is better when we share it together. Support the Fiveish Fangirls on Patreon to help keep us celebrating the things we love, one episode and one tangent at a time. Join us at patreon.com/FivishFangirls. Moving on to feedback. Of course, we got feedback from Shalane. It says, I wasn't sure if you girls were going to cover Andor Season 2. It only just finished a month ago. Chauncey was trying to finish it last night, and he's still not done. It's fun now, though, because he's gotten to the massacre, so at least now we can talk about that. Listen to him with his theories about what's going to happen these last few episodes. I'm like, I'm not saying anything. But I'm really glad you did. I thought it was a great season, the perfect setup for Rogue One Star Wars story. I don't have a ton to say about it, but I really love the sibling dynamic and K2SO's development. Seeing him become a good guy was a highlight. Lately, I've been doing some rewatching to get ready for everything coming up. On the Marvel side, I've rewatched Miss Marvel, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Hawkeye to prep for the Marvels, Captain America, Brave New World, Thunderbolts. For Star Wars, I've been revisiting Clone Wars, Rebels, especially helpful before Ahsoka, yes. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Season 1 of Andor, Skeleton Crew, all that fun stuff. All in preparation for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Going back to the topic of Jeffrey Katzenberg, let's just call him you-know-who. I've seen Disney fans rank him as their #1 enemy. To quote a few people online, he is dead to us. Oh my. From now on, I propose we call him you-know-who, Emperor Palpatine, or Lord Farquaad.
Well, I've heard a few people in the authors circles kind of do the same thing with George R.R. Martin, or say with his unfortunate passing, even though he's still alive and no book to show.
Yeah, I could tell you. Well, there's it'd be secondhand stories about Martin, but I will forever.
Yeah.
Speaking of FanX, she talks about some former Gen Z Channel stars who have attended, because that is a thing now. Is we are getting to the age where the people we watched in the 90s and early 2000s are old enough to start doing the convention circuit. So.
Yep.
That's it for now. Excited to hear your thoughts on Andor. I'll be patient while you get to more Utah filmed movies or new Marvel Star Wars shows. Thanks again, and keep up the amazing work. Thank you, Shalane, for that. Shalane and I have been messaging because this was what we had a well, we'll get to it, but she's big into musicals. I'm big into musicals. She sees what's available out there. I see what's available around here, but now it just so happens that now we have seen the same show within a few weeks of each other. So we're able to compare, contrast. But we shall get to that. So, looking for a great sci-fi read? Support indie authors like J.M. Anjouwerden, whose books bring action, adventure, and rich storytelling to life. Check them out now on Amazon. First up, just because I have had quite the adventures recently, and I gotta tell y'all about it. So yeah, I did PopCon, end of June. That was fun. Again, a little extra squee in the feeds for you. And then what's funny is I came home that Sunday evening from PopCon, immediately had to sit down to record that episode of Gold Standards because our guest couldn't do our usual Thursday night. She needed a weekend. And that's just the way that her availability worked out. So we actually recorded it that Sunday, and then it went in the feeds. But yeah, I was exhausted, of course, as you are after 3 days of con excitedness and socializing and all that fun stuff. So I took the Monday, Tuesday, it essentially was kind of a slug for the most part. I think I barely got out of my pajamas for like 2 days. And then Wednesday, this past Wednesday, Chauncey and I went to the Art Craft Theater, the historic Art Craft Theater, which is this movie theater down in Franklin, Indiana. It's old. I'm not sure exactly how old it is, but it's old. They've done their best to improve it. they got new air conditioning last year.
Ooh.
It was very expensive. Because you need the air conditioning you use for a house is different than what you use for a commercial building. So much more square footage to try and keep cool. But the thing with the art craft is they try to give you very much the old-fashioned movie experience. You get you still get paper tickets. Your seating is first come first serve unless you need handicap seating, an exception. The seats are the fold down like faux velvet red type plush seating. The all movies start with singing the national anthem, and then a cartoon showing a cartoon of some sort. Usually ends up being like Looney Tunes or something like that. And then your actual movie, they usually only do movies on the weekend, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They will do, like, in the summertime, occasionally they will do some during the week, in the middle of the day for either parents with little kids. They'll show, more kid appropriate stuff. It's like, hey, come to the movie theater. We have air conditioning. It's hot outside. Come, we'll entertain your kid for a little bit with a movie. Or they'll show like really old stuff for the senior citizens who, go to bed at like 7. So that they have an opportunity to go to the movies. But what is Artcraft's big thing is they still show all movies on film.
Nice.
Yes. So any movie that you see is going to be on 35, or was it 35 millimeter film?
I think so.
So but yeah. So if you they do allow people to make suggestions. They do have like a kind of a guest book, but you can also put your suggestions, but the movie has to be old enough that they can get it in on film. So I've been there a few times, seeing various things. We've seen we went and saw The Ghost of Mr. Chicken once. We've seen Labyrinth there. We've seen Caddyshack there. So it's quite fun. But this was a somewhat special occasion for them to show a movie on a Wednesday night. But scheduling wise, they wanted to be able to show this movie before said star came to town, and that is because they showed UHF.
Ah.
So yeah. Last time Weird Al came to town, there was a screening of UHF, but it was at the big IMAX theater downtown. So I went to that, which was it's just very cool to see it on a big screen. Obviously IMAX, super high def. But Chauncey had not seen UHF on a proper movie screen yet, so this was, and especially on film, so this was a fun opportunity for us to have a little date night to get out of the house for a few hours. Got him to step away from his work for a hot minute, let himself get distracted. so yeah, we drove down there and got our seats, and the cartoon was a classic. What's opera doc? Uh, and then we got to see UHF on film. And it was pretty awesome. It looked good, considering the age. um it sounded good on their sound system. The audience, very very engaged, laughed a lot, which was nice to hear. Yeah, that people were finding it funny. So but that was a lot of fun. And then so that was our Wednesday, and then Thursday was the Weird Al concert. So we were back at the same venue that we have seen Al I think this was a third time seeing Al. Keeps changing names. This is the White River State Park venue for, if you know downtown Indianapolis, y'all are gonna know what I'm talking about. It's right by the White River, near the baseball stadium. And we have not actually been there since the last time that we saw Weird Al there, which was during the the Strings Attached tour, where he was performing with a full orchestra. And they've remodeled since last time we were there. So we sat in the grass, because one, it's nice to be able to stretch out and not have to be crammed in the seats. That, and the lawn seats are cheaper, and we wanted to keep the ticket costs down so that we could save our money and turn around and use that to buy the VIP package, which was sold separately.
Makes complete sense.
Yes. So yeah, this is Al's bigger and weirder tour. So he is touring. He's not promoting a new album or anything. Especially now that he is contractually fulfilled his original recording contract, so he is not obligated to actually release any more albums if he does not want to, as far as a record label is concerned. So but because we got the VIP package, one of the perks was that we got to get into the venue early.
Nice.
Nice.
So while everybody else was in the heat, standing in line, waiting to be let in the general audience entrance, we got to walk over to a different entrance and check ourselves in, and we got our VIP lanyards and our credential sticker thing that was going to get us into the meet and greet after the show, along with our souvenir blanket, which is it sounds kind of weird, haha, pun intended. It's actually a really nice blanket, and we each got one, which was nice. So we used one to sit on. And thankfully it had been fairly dry in Indy, so we did not have to worry about the ground being wet or anything, which was nice. But yeah, it's like,
do not knock the value of a nice blanket, no matter where you get it.
yes,
Exactly.
yeah. I mean, this is like, it's like fleece, but it's
It
like
looks
that
really nice from the
it's
picture
like
you
that
showed.
super soft, and on the
Ooh.
backside is like that white, like, kind of looks like popcorn
Sheets.
ceiling.
Okay, yeah.
It's still really soft. The print on it is a whole bunch of Al related stuff. There's accordions, there's Twinkie Wiener sandwiches, there's the Al TV logo, there's Harvey the Wonder Hamster and his hamster wheel. There's Al's checkered shoes that he's known for wearing. So yeah, and I mean we sat on the one and kept the other one in the bag, so that it was big enough for both of us to sit on. So I ended up standing pretty much most of the show anyway. So, but because there were less crowds, it also meant we got to go to the merchandise without a line as well. So Chauncey and I each got a t-shirt, which is good because I picked up 2 shirts during the Straight Outta Linwood tour.
Mm-hmm.
Back when White Nerdy was like, the thing. I have no idea where those shirts are.
Uh-oh.
I can't imagine that I got rid of them.
They're in that vortex in a box somewhere that you have yet to rediscover.
Might be, but I don't know why something that was part of my regular wardrobe, I would have done that.
True. I get you. I bet it. Strange things things have happened.
Yeah, that is true. So, until we're in a place with enough room that we can like totally open up all of those bins that are in the closet, I won't know for sure. So, as far as I know, they are just lost to the ether. But honestly, I have no idea where they went. Just for the life of me, I do not understand why. Because I mean, I wear them. I buy tour shirts and I wear them, so they would have been part of my regular wardrobe rotation. So I don't know why I would have set them somewhere else. So anyway, TLDR, that means I haven't had any Weird Al merch to wear. So I rectified that situation by getting a new t-shirt. So, and then Chauncey got one as well, which he's never had one. So yay. So then we picked we picked a spot in the lawn, sat down, and then we're like, we could do better. So then we had to get standing up and finding a different spot. So we shifted a little before we finally picked a permanent spot, which again, by being there before everybody else, you get that, you have that option. So yeah, we just kind of claimed our little patch of grass and hung out and watched as it filled in as they let everybody else in. I ended up seeing somebody I know, so I stopped to say hi. And then I had friends that were posting on Facebook, like they were there too, but they weren't anywhere near us. So, especially considering one of them was backstage because he's part of the 501st. So,
and of course I know why he was there for the 501st for a certain little song.
Yeah, I thought about maybe trying to interrogate the 501st when they were at PopCon to see if any of them would be like, hey, any of y'all got called up to
extra
for Thursday evening, but I imagined that even if they knew who was going to be part of it, they probably weren't allowed to tell.
Right.
So contractually obligated to keep that stuff under wraps, I'm sure. For hopefully what are obvious reasons to most people.
We signed NDAs or something.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Or at the
maybe
very
not
least,
that far, but something.
At the very least, to try to keep people from being like, "Oh, can you get me backstage?" That sort of thing.
Like here, I'll just wear my cobbled together stormtrooper outfit from like 3 years ago. It totally fits. Promise.
Yep. So yeah, we just kind of chilled until it was time for the show to start. Al usually does not have an opener. There's been a few exceptions when we saw the ill-advised Vanity tour. where it was essentially Weird Al Unplugged. Several, it seems like now 5 bazillion years ago, Emo Phillips opened for him. So Emo did a short stand-up set for Al for that. But Al usually does not have an opener. But this time he did, and it is still is because he's still on the tour. But his current opener is Puddles the Clown. It's Puddles Pity Party. Go on YouTube, look him up. He dresses like the old fashioned like clowns, with the white face and the little hat that sits slightly cockeyed on his head, with the ruffles around the neck and the giant like pom-poms down the front of the costume. But I guess Puddle's thing is that he dresses as this clown and he'll sing, I'm assuming, the stuff that I did not recognize. Maybe some of it he writes, or somebody writes for him that they're originals. But he also does some covers. But I didn't want to be spoiled on the tour if I could help it, so I didn't even look into like really a whole lot of Puddle stuff because I kind of wanted to be surprised. I knew what he looked like when he's in costume, but I didn't really know a whole lot. I know he sings going into it, but that was about it. But his thing is he performs looking like this like really severely depressed, sad clown, but he's got an amazing voice, a really, really good voice. Like he's like Sinatra or something. It's a bit old fashioned. He's, like I said, Sinatra. He could be like a lounge singer somewhere. I know he's done some work with Postmodern Jukebox. If you know anything about them, it's that kind of same vibe as far as like the music. But what he does, the thing is, what makes it so funny is what is happening on the stage while he's singing. Like sometimes it'll be weird, like I don't know if he changes it for his shows or not, but there was an overall like running gag through his performance that apparently he is obsessed at the moment with Kevin Costner. So like one of the songs he sang that I didn't recognize, the video behind him was just this clip of Kevin Costner from this movie. I don't know what movie it was. And he's sitting on a bed and he's crying. And then he sang another song again that I did not recognize, but the image on the screen was this stylized, like somewhat abstract, but you could still tell what it is, like painting of the house in the cornfield from Field of Dreams. And then there was something else he's saying, and it was all clips from Waterworld. Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was. He sang the theme song to Gilligan's Island, but it was set to the music of Stairway to Heaven. But all the clips were from Waterworld.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, one of the non-Kevin Costner related was he sang his a cover of Crazy Train, appropriate because Ozzy just had his last show. So he sang Crazy Train, very Puddles stylized version of it, but all of the video that played on the screen behind him were clips of, I don't know if they're all the same person. If this was something that was filmed specifically for him, it kind of looks like it is because they all seem to have like the same like background. It seems to be the same hands, but they're clips of this pair of hands doing like a daily something you would do the average person might do on any given day, like cut a slice, cut a cake to serve at a party, or start a roll of tape or something like that, except every single time they did it slightly off. So like if they were cutting into the cake, instead of making like nice little triangles, they would cut it at like a weird angle. And another weird, it really is like if you have OCD or somebody who's like neurodivergent and needs stuff to be like proper, this was your nightmare. And the audience was just like, they could not handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
It's like, tell me, like, it's in case you're wondering if the Weird Al's fan base might be a little neuro spicy. Here's your
Just a bit.
confirmation. Like, it's almost, if like, yeah, you almost need to see it to kind of understand what I'm trying to describe. But if you're not wired that way, then you're just gonna be like, oh well, that's just weird, like, I mean, we've all probably like started to try to like start a roll of tape, and you know how sometimes it'll start to peel off, but then it's only like, it's not the entire width of the tape. It'll do like that weird like partial
Mm-hmm.
when it lifts off. It's like that, but it was that with just like other little clips of just other things like that. I was rolling at it just because I thought it was hilarious, especially listening to everybody else in the audience lose their mind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, uh, but then, so, but yeah, I mean, I was not entirely sure what to expect from Puddles, but that was actually quite funny, and I could see why they signed him on to be the opening act for this. Like I think he totally fits the the vibe. So. Oh my. So then Puddles finished. We had to wait a little bit while they took Puddles' stuff off the stage, and then it was Al's turn. And this thing with this tour, the bigger and weirder tour, is Al's had the same band with him pretty much his entire career. And those guys have always been with him no matter what the tour has been. Whether it's the stripped down full orchestra, whatever. But this time he brought in some additional band members, musicians, to play some instruments that aren't necessarily the other guy's wheelhouse. Like he brought in some people to do some like brass and woodwinds. So it doesn't necessarily a full orchestra, but you need somebody that can play like the saxophone for a song or two, stuff like that. So it just added a little extra, musicianship to the show. So and of course, it's Al. He started with Tacky, where he starts backstage and they show a live camera feed, and he works his way from backstage up it through one of the side doors, so suddenly he's near the audience. And eventually he ends up on the stage. And essentially it was a couple of hours of just absolute pandemonium. So he's got quite the catalog of songs. And there's ones that you expect. It's very much like Paul McCartney. There are ones you expect to hear no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are the ones where you're like, oh, this would be fun if I heard it, but it's not the end of the world. So he does try to do some songs where you're like, oh, okay, well, I was expecting to hear this. And to try and cram in as much as possible, he does tend to do not necessarily medleys. I guess that would be the best way to describe it, where he'll do like, half of a song and then switch to another one. And then do part of another song and then switch to another one. So it allows him to cram a bit more of his catalog into a show. um so but there was they're the expected ones, especially ones with certain costumes that you kind of expect to see, like Smells Like Nirvana. He dresses up like, just like he does in the music video, looking like Kurt Cobain. A couple of the gals that are part of the expanded backing band were dressed in the cheerleader outfits from the music video. There's having the extra band members allowed for some more costume opportunities they wouldn't necessarily have before, like he did Ricky, which is but in his case, it's his parody of Mickey, but it's about Ricky Ricardo and Lucy, Island of Lucy. So when you had somebody who could dress up as Lucy with the red hair and everything. So he does. White Nerdy comes out on a Segway, of course. So it was it was a pretty straightforward. I mean, there's a lot of gags that really they're not funny. I could tell you them, but they're not necessarily going to be funny. They're just kind of like visual gags that really you just kind of need to see it in context for it to make sense and probably better understand why it's funny. There's a running gag with one of the guys that's part of just kind of Al's entourage, that he's been part of Al's working group for like 30 years, and this guy is part of the show a number of times doing a number of things, and he's he's cracked me up every time he came out. Because he was very much playing the straight guy to Al's funny person. So Al did do one cover. I think this is a bit of a spillover from the Ill-Advised Vanity Tour, to be honest with you, because part of the Ill-Advised Vanity Tour was doing like no parodies. Like I said, it was kind of Al unplugged, without all the costumes and crazy stuff. That part of that tour he did a straight cover, just to change things up, and it was different every show, and you did not know what the cover was going to be until you went to the show. You can go online and see the list. He'd cover everything from pop songs to 80s hits to whatever. And I think maybe a bit of a spillover from that. I think maybe they enjoyed it so much that they made it part of this. But the setup to it is that he was like, okay, we're gonna change things up and do the next song by request. And of course, everybody in the audience is like, "Oh, pick me, pick me, pick me!" And he's like, "And Jay, who's one of his band members." He's like, "What do you want to hear?" Although I think in this case it was Jim, actually. He's like, "Jim, what do you want to hear?" And Jim was all like, George Harrison. And Al's like, no, one of our songs. And then Jim immediately goes into the opening of What Is Love? Or What Is Life? So so they ended up doing a straight cover of George Harrison's What Is Life, which I loved.
Nice.
Yeah,
That
it was
is awesome.
really cool.
It was
really
cool.
I was like, who's gonna do a cover? It's gonna be a cover of, that's like, I know this song, I know this person. Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
I know this song and I can sing along to it.
Yep. So that was pretty fun. So, and then of course the encore is Star Wars. Always.
As it should be.
As it should be. Although last time when I saw him with the orchestra, he only did The Saga Begins. He did not do Yoda.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah. So, but of course, they go off stage and, the lights are still down and stuff and people are cheering, ow, ow, ow. Yeah. Weird Al, Weird Al. And I'm over here like, Star Wars, Star Wars. It's like, that's the one thing you haven't done yet. Yeah, exactly.
Yoda.
So what Al does is, actually it's, Ruben, his keyboardist, actually comes out first, dressed as Emperor Palpatine.
Oh boy.
Messes with the audience a little bit and then goes to his keyboard and starts playing like I don't even know what's that one, is it Toccata and Fugue? Is that what da 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 da?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And then he also does the baseball da 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 da, yeah. Just to get us. Yes, just to get us all wound up. And then eventually Al and the rest of the band come out. Al is dressed as a Jedi, Obi-Wan Obi-Wan Kenobi, with the brown robes, and sings The Saga Begins, which he famously wrote before episode 1 actually came out. I think we discussed this when we talked about episode 1 actually. How he used a combination of the internet and one very expensive pre-screening that he paid for to make sure that his parody of American Pie
was accurate.
Got the plot correct for this movie.
To be fair,
so
between the novelization and a bunch of other promotional stuff, it wasn't that hard to find spoilers.
That is true, but just making sure that
yes,
location names are right, it's in the right order,
yes,
as the plot occurs. So it's quite impressive that it's so spot on. But what Al does is every city that he goes to, he will get, sure it's his people, somebody will arrange a number of cosplayers from the local Star Wars cosplay community. And because he's dressed as the Jedi, it's all Imperial characters. So there's always a Darth Vader and then usually a bunch of stormtroopers. Sometimes you'll get like a Boba Fett or other type of bounty hunter, but it's all essentially bad guys. And what they do is they stand there pretty much the entire time. Very Empire-like, Darth Vader's right there, so it's like, we don't want to do anything that pisses off Lord Vader. But as the song goes on, because it is Don McLean's American Pie, so the song's kind of long, eventually they start bobbing their heads, and then the next thing you know, by the end of the song, they're full on dancing. Even Darth Vader. So, but it's quite fun actually to see how into it they decide to get. Like I said, I have a friend that is in the 501st, so he was up there on stage as a stormtrooper. I ended up telling him, I was like, that was fun. However, there was a speeder trooper at the far end of the line who was just bugging way more than the rest of y'all. But obviously having a heck of a time. So I don't know who that was, but they were having a lot of fun and they were very entertaining. So
you sure that wasn't your friend?
No, because he was actually right near Darth Vader. So
gotcha.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so that was fun. And then he does Yoda. So all the cosplayers leave the stage. And then Yoda, which is actually a parody of Lola by the Kinks, And that is from the 80s. So all we had was the OG trilogy then.
Yep. Good old Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. So yeah, it is very, very Empire heavy as far as the lyrics are concerned. But for those that don't know, the thing with Yoda is eventually you get to the point where it's just repeating Yoda, Yoda, very much like Hey Jude, with the na-na-nas. And I don't know how far back this goes. I would have to look. I know there's a Wikipedia entry for it. But at some point, when they would get to that point of the song, they would take a sidestep and do what is now known as the Yoda chant.
Huh.
And it's a lot of nonsense kind of sounding for a good chunk of it. It used to only be like maybe like a 30-second thing, and then then they would go right back into the song like they never left to finish out Yoda. However, it has grown throughout the years, and I timed it because I know that I knew it was a thing because I've seen it before, but I wanted to see how long it was now, so I timed it because I'm that kind of weirdo, and it is now 3 minutes and 30 seconds long.
Wow.
Almost as long as the song itself. So you could go on YouTube and find variations of it of various links because they just add to it, essentially with each tour that it's part of the set list. Which is why it's now as long as it is. There's like some Hawaiian chanting in there that, if you know your Disney stuff, it's actually an old ancient Hawaiian chant / song, but it's also part of the Enchanted Tiki Room at the Disney parks. You'll hear that. They also have part of Grim Grinning Ghosts from the Haunted Mansion. So there's a couple of Disney references in there. So there's some other like pop culture references in there. Like Nice Lady, which is a Jerry Lewis thing. So but yeah, it's kind of funny because I actually saw on the Weird Al Reddit somebody recently posted and is like, what is this chant thing that Al and the band do in the middle of Yoda? I was like, oh, you must be new. Hello, welcome to the fandom and the Yoda chant.
Yup.
So that's always fun. It's just like if you know it, it's fun to listen to it and see if you can figure out what's new from the last time you heard it, kind of thing. So, but that's the show closer is the Star Wars stuff. And then most of the venue cleared out as they should, but those of us with the VIP had to wait. We had to leave our spot in the grass and go over to the chairs, but whatever. And we waited until they told us we could get in line. And so we got in line with a bunch of other fans. It was fun listening to people talk, look at the shirts people were wearing. There was a guy wearing a tour t-shirt from Bad Hair Day.
Oh, wow.
You know what year it said on that? 1996.
Yeah,
that means that means Bad Hair Day is 30 years old, essentially.
Gulp.
That was my first album. Granted, if those of you that know my history know I was originally introduced to Al through UHF, but I did not know who Weird Al was, so I did not understand who this guy was, and I told Shotzi, I don't remember at what point I put two and two together that when my cousin got Bad Hair Day and was sharing the music with me while we were at our grandma's house in Florida, that it was the same guy in that weird movie I'd seen that one time that I went to somebody's house with a bunch of church friends. I don't know at what point I put two and two together, but I do know my first like proper introduction to knowing that like this guy's name is Weird Al Yankovic and this is the type of music that he does was Bad Hair Day, which means I have been a Weird Al fan for 30 years.
Congratulations.
Yes.
You need a badge or a star or a brand new car or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, in this case, I got to meet Al again.
There you go. There is your phone trophy.
Yep. So,
whatever picture you're gonna frame and put on the wall.
Yeah. So this, our first line up and like cattle processing adventure was the photo op that came with the VIP package. So it was very much like at a comic convention. You walk up, pose, smile, click, off you go. And then once they got through all of the photo ops, the very last guy, because we were like second to last, and like the last guy in the line for the photos had a shirt that said, "Today's my birthday," and all I got to do was beat Weird Al. And of course I was like, "Oh, have you had your broccoli and beer yet?" Which is a Weird Al song reference. He's like, "No, not yet." I'm like, "Well, make sure you get on that." If you don't know what I'm talking about, too bad. And so then they shoved us out so that they could rearrange the furniture, essentially. So now that instead of doing photos, they could do autographs. And actually some people left and did not stay for the autograph session, even though that was included. Very weird. But hey, at this point, it was after midnight. So, you know, I could kind of understand, you know, it was the 4th of July the next day, but some people unfortunately still had to work. So I get it. And it was really hot. even that late at night, it was still very muggy. But of course, you know, Chauncey's like, "Are we staying?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, we paid for it." Like, we paid a lot of money for this. So yeah, we're staying. So they, you know, new line formed with the people that did decide to stay. And you know, we waited and the line moved fairly quickly because they weren't doing necessarily personalized autographs. Now, if you brought something you wanted Al to sign, he would sign that instead of the tour poster, because our a poster came with the VIP package as well, which it's the same, but they change for every show, so it has the date and the location on it. So everybody's got the same art, but ours says, you know, Everwise Amphitheater, whatever the hell it's called, Indianapolis, Indiana, July 3rd, 2025. And so Al was just automatically signing those unless you brought something instead for him to sign. Because they weren't doing the personalization thing, because at this point it's late. Yeah. Al, I'm sure, is running on fumes. You know, trying to figure out how to make sure that people's names are spelled correctly and all that fun stuff. It's just like, you know, it was just very much sign the name. Here's your poster. Great. Like if you wanted to talk to him, you had to do it quickly. Which was fine. Y'all know my history. I know you guys know, and our listeners that have been listening long enough know my history when it comes to meeting Weird Al. First time, I forgot how to speak completely. Second time, which was just this past December, I couldn't shut up. But at the same time, still did not say what I wanted to say.
How'd you do this time?
Third time is the charm, apparently.
Yay!
So
The other one, the E3 merged and Seriously, thank you for fulfilling.
Oh, third meeting for charm.
Yes, indeed.
This is appropriate. 25 years ago, I sent you a letter via snail mail asking you to be my prom date.
Did I go?
No, you did not. I never heard anything back. 25 years later, look at me now.
Well, see, you did better. Good thing you waited.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, I'm signing that?
I've been waiting 25 years, though, to get that off of my chest. It only took me 3 tries. 3 tries to beat him to be able to say
There you
something.
go. Amazing.
And congratulations on your daughter graduating college.
Oh, nice. You're very sweet. Thank you.
How was your dinner with Americana?
Very nice.
Well, hello.
Thank you for coming. Take care, folks. Thanks for coming.
It's fairly big. Yeah, it's.
He went like...
Huh?
You get my poster?
No, because you signed it.
Have a good night, guys.
Question for you. Can I get a blank poster? I got this side. I grabbed that.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask if you could.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Indiana Jones.
Have a good evening. You too. What the? There's a caveman back there.
Yeah. So it gets to our turn and we get up there and I'm like, okay, third meet and greet apparently is the charm. And he's like, I was like, okay, 25 years ago, because I did the math, because this was in 2000, my junior year of high school. I was like, 25 years ago, I sent you a letter via snail mail, pre-internet or very early days of the internet, kids.
Yep.
It's like, I sent you a snail mail asking you to be my prom date. He's like, and he thought about it for a second. He's like, did I go?
No.
Like, no, you did not. I didn't hear anything from you. And I've been waiting 25 years to get that off of my chest. And I heard nothing from you. Like 25 years later, now look at me. And he's like, well, that's probably good that you waited. It's like, you look like you got a good one. I'm like, yeah, I did. Me Chauncey, because he was right next to me. Like, yes, but I just been waiting 25 years to tell you. I wrote you and I never heard back. So, and I also told him congratulations because his daughter just graduated college.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then I also asked him how his recent dinner with Eric Idle went. Because he recently, he was, I don't know where I read this. I don't know if it was on Reddit or what. But Al was doing press in whatever city he was that they were there, where they were on the tour at that time. You know how they do when artists come to town, they'll radio station or TV station will sometimes grab them and be like, "Hey, how's it feel to be in Wichita?" or or whatever. And I guess he was being interviewed by somebody somewhere, and his phone went off or vibrated or whatever, and he's like, "Sorry, I wouldn't normally do this during an interview, but where he's like, we're having Eric Idle over for dinner, like the next day or whatever. He was going to be able to go back home, to be home for a little bit. He's like, we're having Eric Idle over for dinner, and my wife is out grocery shopping, and she wants my opinion on dessert."
Uh-oh.
He's like, "Yeah, that's my claim to fame at the moment, is I'm having Eric Idle, of Monty Python fame, among other things,
This is like, what are the
over
two
to
of
my
you
house.
what are the
for-
two of you cooking up?
I don't know.
That's my question. Why are
Yeah,
these
I know,
two great
really.
minds joining
Yeah, I know.
comedic
To
minds
be a
joining
fly
together?
on the wall during that, I
Yes.
tell you what.
Right?
There's something afoot. Pun intended.
Possibly.
Pun intended.
Possibly. So, but I was like, "Oh, how's your dinner with Eric Idle go?" He's like, "Oh, it was great." I'm like, "That's fantastic." So, and then they shoot us out the door. But yeah, I was like, "Woohoo!"
You
we're
tried
done.
to get details.
Yeah, I was like, "Hey!" In the short time there, I managed to get 3 things out of my gob, in one go. So I was like, "Oh, now I don't know what I'm going to talk to him about next time I see him." But hey, I'll worry about that bridge when I get to it. As Chauncey and I were talking about it on the drive home, I was like, if I was Al and had someone like B come up and be like, 25 years ago, I asked you to be my prom date and didn't hear from you, and I've been waiting 25 years to tell you this, and then also proceeded to congratulate me on my daughter's graduation from college, and ask about dinner that I had with another celebrity, I'd be like, "Stalker!"
Right?
Someone call the cops.
You'd be like Stanley to Sheldon Cooper.
Yeah. Like, I signed the restraining order, which means GalaxyCon could get very awkward. No, I'm just kidding. No, obviously the prom thing, that's my thing. It was all in good fun. The people, like his handlers and stuff that were there, that were hearing the entire thing, they thought it was funny. They were laughing. But his daughter graduating and the Eric Idle thing, those were out on like public social media, so it's not like it wasn't anything that you had to be a stalker to know. It's just I spend a lot of time on the internet, and therefore I catch random stuff.
If you're a fan, you follow certain fan news outlets, including social media.
If the celebrity is on social media, you tend to follow them.
It's not too weird. I mean, if you knew what he had for breakfast that morning,
yeah,
it would be a little weird.
Or if I'd known exactly what dessert it is that his wife had ended up picking out. That probably would have been a bit more stalkerish, but still, it was funny because I was like, "Oh, I probably sounded, to people who didn't know any better, I probably sounded a little stalkerish." I don't know what the people behind us in line thought, but whatever. Oh my! So, but yeah, we got one of the tour posters signed, and then Chauncey had him sign his VIP credential thing, sticker thing. So yeah, I went and got a poster frame earlier today, so I gotta find some wall space to put it up. First world problems. Oh dear, I've met too many celebrities. I don't have enough wall space for all of these pictures and autographs. Whatever will I do? Oh my. So yeah, that was Weird Al. And it wasn't even the weekend yet. Is the wild part of it all. So yeah, I spent Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at InConJunction. Which not a whole lot to report from there. That con is very chill, very laid back, on the smaller side. They don't, they've got a very loyal following as far as people that attend every year. This was their 43rd InConJunction.
Dang.
So yeah, it's been a small but very consistent event in the Indianapolis area. Unfortunately, some stuff had to get rearranged at the last minute. Lou Harry, who usually MCs a lot of stuff and does pub trivia as one of the events, ended up becoming sick, so he wasn't able to attend. Mark Dooley and his wife, who run the Doctor Who room, they also ended up sick and weren't able to attend, but thankfully there were people willing to jump in and man the Doctor Who screening room, so that way there was still episodes of Doctor Who for people to come in and watch. They still did they were still able to do the raffle on Sunday, which helps raise money for the Hoosier Network, which is kind of our local Doctor Who fan club. So that's, again, fantastic that they've got such a good group of people that attend this event, that were able to jump in and help out when people unfortunately could not come due to illness and stuff like that. So but I had my table in the vendor hall. Vendor hall was in the same room as last year, and yes, it was absolutely freezing the entire weekend again. So granted, when I first came in on Friday after bringing in all my stuff from the car, the cold actually felt kind of good for about 20 minutes, and then I was like, okay, this is cold. Thankfully I had dressed and brought I'd worn pants and brought a jacket, and I actually brought my Weird Al blanket, the one that had not been used on the lawn, as an additional layer to keep warm. So that helped a lot. But yeah, I had the exact same table as last year, so I was right across from the vendor assistance table, which meant I got to look at my doggy friends, Scout and Archer.
Yay!
And Scout was mouthy as always. So Scout always has to give his opinion. There was a lot of doggos, actually. It's a dog-friendly hotel to begin with, which is nice. They don't have to be just service dogs. It's a pet-friendly hotel, so they can just be your pet. So I'm excited to think about maybe next year that, when I go, I'll be taking my own with me, maybe.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. But yeah, the artist guest of honor, she brought her dog, Oscar, who is a standard poodle, standard size poodle, so good size, good size dog.
Oh yeah, standard size poodles. Yep,
they're quite big. And every time that Oscar walked by, Scout had to bark, and I think it's because Scout is just jealous of dogs taller than him, to be honest with you. I think it was a size thing.
Little big dog syndrome, probably.
Yeah, because Scout and Archer are like little Maltese size. Yeah, I don't know if that's exactly what breed they are, but they look like Maltese to me. So if you know anything about Maltese, especially compared to a standard poodle, significant size difference. Yeah. But Oscar, very, very friendly. He's named after Oscar Wilde.
Aw.
because he is just as flamboyant and outrageous.
Nice.
I mean, right now, Oscar has the very stereotypical French poodle haircut, with the palm on the end of the tail and, with the ears and everything and the head. So, so looking very much like the French poodle that he is, and he knew it too and was enjoying the attention and
Very
just being
proud of it.
very most fabulous dog you have ever seen in your entire life. So yeah, there's a number of other dogs. I didn't get every dog's name, unfortunately, but
That's a lot to
Yeah.
keep track of.
yeah. But I was just happy every time somebody walked by with a dog. I'm like, doggy! So
Come over here for petties.
yes, yeah,
Squishies, Treatos.
yeah. I mean, Oscar would hang out right in front of his mom's booth, and they ended up putting a little sign right next to him that says "Pet, please."
Aww.
Like, please, he needs the attention.
Yes.
Mom's busy selling her artwork. Please pay attention to the dog. So yeah, that was fun.
Give belly rubs to the one that she's supporting, please.
Yeah. It's like you stop to pet the dog. Next thing you know, you're looking at the artwork and you're buying something. It's win-win.
Exactly.
Who needs a booth babe when you got a booth dog?
Exactly.
Dogs
So-
are more friendly anyway.
Exactly.
Yes.
Personable.
Yep. Yes, very much. Unless you're taller than Scout, and Scout will let you know. As long as you're not a white dog taller than Scout, you're fine. So I did 2 panels at InConJunction. So Friday, I did my geeky women throughout history panel. It's something I've been doing consistently, actually. This is my 3rd year in a row doing it. So every year that I do it, it's a new crop of people. So it is essentially a mini history lesson of women and or binary folks who have made an impact in their particular field or industry, or depending on the time period, they don't necessarily use those types of words, but speciality, I guess. But I usually start with pre 20th century. In this case, I did 3 women, and then I'll do a group that is early to mid 20th century, and then mid 20th century through now. And that I just give people a bit of a history lesson. Some are more well known than others. I've done in the past, I've done like Ada Lovelace and Grace Hopper and ladies, like that up till now. But this year, Mary Shelley, some are more well known than others. But this year was Hypatia from ancient Egypt. And who else did I do? Because I had a long list, and now I had to really narrow it down. So yeah, I did Hypatia, who was a mathematician and philosopher in ancient Alexandria. Sophie Germain, who was a self-taught French mathematician, and Murasaki Shikibu, who is a 11th century Japanese author who wrote the tale of Genji, which is considered the world's first novel. And then Xiang Wu, who was an experimental physicist who worked on the Manhattan Project, among other things. Valentina Traskova, who was the first woman in space. She's Russian. And Edith Clark, who was the first professionally employed female electrical engineer in the US and helped develop power grids as we know them now. So if you use electricity and it works, especially at least here in the United States, you could thank Edith. And Radia Perlman, who is considered kind of the mother of the internet. The internet as we know it now. She came up with STP, which is spanning tree protocol, which allows networks to talk to each other
Nice.
quickly and like get the information that you're trying to get from a network and get it without accidentally creating like loops where it's like, if you type something into Google and be like, lasagna recipes, it's gonna go and grab a whole bunch and then it's gonna stop, as opposed to constantly going and getting, retrieving more and more. It knows to stop until you tell it to do it again if you want to do it again. So yeah, anytime that you've gone on the interwebs and requested information to be, from somewhere and it comes to you, she's who you can thank, among other things. But that's kind of like her big claim to infamy. And Dr. Cian Proctor, who is a geoscientist and artist. She's an author, among other things, but she was the first African American woman to pilot a spacecraft. So that's pretty cool. And then Charlie Jane Anders, who is a science fiction and fantasy author and book advocate for not banning books, among other things. But they are non-binary. So that's who was this year's, I guess, class of nerdy folks, nerdy ladies, and throughout history. And next year we'll get a different crop. And then Saturday was the my second attempt at doing kind of the open forum discussion of fandom and being female, as part of research for my book. And but this time it was not just me. I actually had a couple of panelists, a couple of fellow authors, that one is, they're different generations than me, so they have their different life experiences, so it was fun and interesting to hear their experiences based on the time periods that they grew up in, compared to me, and their influences and how they have developed into the geeky women that they are now. Not necessarily a ton of feedback from the audience, but the audience wasn't huge to begin with, but they did seem quite interested in hearing what we had to say based on their facial expressions. So I think it still went well, to be honest with you. And I did have people that asked about the book and doing the survey and stuff. So I also had that information at my table the entire weekend. So I did pass out that information to a number of people. and got connected with made a few connections of people that may have on the podcast at some point. Maybe at the very least, I'll probably talk to off podcast with stuff that may or may not go into the book. So yeah, and then that was my panel on Saturday was at 11 a.m. So so really just the rest of the day was spent at the table in the vendor hall. Chauncey did come at one point to bring me food because I realized that my dummy light was on. So Saturday morning meant making sure that I had time to go get gas so that I could get to the convention in one piece. So that meant that I did not necessarily get a chance to pack myself a proper lunch. So thankfully Chauncey brought me food, which I actually immediately inhaled. But he ended up coming with me to poke his head into the vendor hall for a few minutes because friend of the podcast and our own Chauncey and I's friend Tony Troxel had a table also in the vendor hall. Unfortunately, he was not near me, so I could bother him the entire weekend, but he was in there, and it'd been ages since Chauncey and Tony had seen each other. So I was like, hey, pop in, say hi. Then we ended up running into someone else we know who we knew from working at IU. So that was fun. And then Sunday was last day, people selling their wares, trying to leave with less than they showed up with, which seems to be the case for a number of people. I know that's what Tony said. He's like, I've got so many, he's got these boxes all right here, all empty. And I'm like, good for you. So that's always a good thing. But yeah, the final day is last minute purchases. People, all the vendors, they pass out a survey to get our feedback. Once again, my only complaint, it was freezing the entire weekend. Oh, and I mean, I don't mean like, yes, how people feel temperature is subjective to the person, but like when I say it was cold in the vendor hall, I mean I had a consistently runny nose because of how cold it was. So I had to have a stack of tissues at the ready because my nose would just run from how cold it was. So, but yeah, that was my only complaint. Other than that, of course, one of the questions is, do you plan on returning next year? And I'm like, absolutely, especially if you put me by the dogs. Which they just know that's the thing now. Like when I showed up Friday and they were all like, yeah, your table's right there. And I'm like, we put you where you wanted to go, right across from the dogs. I'm like, sweet. So yeah, but before you know it, it was over. It was time to pack up and haul out until next year. So I packed up all my stuff and put it in the car. And then instead of actually going home, I ended up going downtown Indy, to get something to eat, a proper meal, before going to.
Thank you.
Yes. I mean, Sunday was a short enough day, and like I'd had breakfast and I'd had some snacks. I'd had snacks with me the entire weekend, so it's not like I was gonna starve to death. But I was like, there's no point in me going home because I didn't have that much time that I needed to fill. But it's like I still needed to eat, so I was like, I was gonna, my stuff will be in the car. It'll be locked up. It'll be fine. I was parked, I found a parking space nearby. But yeah, so I ended up wandering up Meridian, one of the streets. Downtown's weird because it's, like I said, it's this giant grid, except for a few spots where there are diagonal streets because reasons, I don't know. I'm sure it made sense when the city was older. Those may have been like, lanes for carriages or something. I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, there's some weird occasional street where there'll be like, instead of it being a 4-way intersection, it'll be like a weird like 6-7-way intersection, because it's like you could either go straight or you could go not a full right or full left turn, but diagonally. But on some of those diagonal streets is where they started to gentrify and put like fun little restaurants and shops and stuff. So I found a restaurant that, it was like a little not necessarily a sports place, but just, that kind of vibe ish, nothing pretentious or fancy schmancy as far as food is concerned. And because it was just me, I was able to get a seat at the bar without having to wait and get myself an adult beverage because I had earned it, and just like an appetizer because that's all I really needed. And then wandered back over and went to, again, Indy. Stuff will change names because of sponsors and the like how our Bun music venue up in Noblesville was Deer Creek. If you're of a certain age, you could say Deer Creek. People know what you're talking about. It's had several names since then because of sponsors. Whatever the hell. The same thing with the basketball stadium. Gainbridge now. It was Conseco when I was an intern with the Pacers. So, yeah. These things. So, those of a certain age know it as the Murat. It used to be a building for the Shriners. Murat Shrine. It used to be a temple, like for the Shriners, or something. But now it's called the Old National Center, which, I mean, it is old, but I don't know where the national. I think it's a credit card or bank or something that I think has got their name on the side of the building. But anyway, it's one of the premier venues for theater in downtown Indianapolis. And it just so happens that last night was the last night for Wicked. So Wicked is on tour. And as I said, this was one of those things where for once Shalane and I actually got to see the same show.
Awesome.
Around the same time, because it was just in Utah last month. So, and she had went and seen it, and then it came to Indy, and I got to see it. So here's the thing. We discussed the Wicked phenomenon a bit when we discussed All Things Wizard of Oz late last year. Wicked is huge. It's still running in New York while it's also on tour because it's so big, to try to get as many people the opportunity to see it. And getting tickets is not easy, to say the least, because the show is just so freaking popular. Popular. So
I'm sure there being a movie has not deterred.
Oh yeah,
that.
absolutely. But so I even and this was like, I'm gonna go see it. Chauncey, he was good enough to go to Beetlejuice with me. I was not about to drag him to any other musical theater, although I think he would have enjoyed it. But I know it's not necessarily his thing. So I was like, I'm not. If you want to go, great. If you don't want to, I'm not going to be upset about it. because he is a good sport about a lot of things. So looking at, just buying just one ticket anywhere. There were seats available, especially because I was just a single, but they're expensive. Very, very expensive. Even for nosebleed. To wait in the back of the theater, asking a lot of moolah. So I thought that one thing that they were offering were discounted rush tickets, which are tickets that have not been sold that will be available at a discounted rate, but you have to wait until 2 hours before the show and just go to the box office and hope that there's something available. And they were offering rush tickets for those in education. So I work in education. I work at a high school. So I have an ID that says I work, teachers, faculty, staff for, you could get a discount ticket, but you had to go and check at the box office. You had to physically go to the box office. You couldn't call, couldn't go online. You actually had to physically go to the box office to see what they had available for that particular show. So I was like, well, maybe I can try that. And I thought about maybe trying that for the show that was the Thursday before PopCon. And we all know how that turned out. I sat down in my room and did not move for the rest of the night because of the heat. Like, I don't want to go back out in that. And then I thought maybe I could try it that Sunday night after PopCon. I know, yes, I was supposed to be recording Gold Standard. I was like, if I have to bow out just because I managed to go score a good ticket for Wicked, I knew that Nick and Zan would not, begrudge me any. But it just so happens that, can't remember if it was that Friday or Saturday, as I was in my hotel room getting ready for PopCon for the day, I get a text message. And there is this, I guess, third party called Lucky Seat. And what you do is you go on their website, you make an account, and what you do is you find the show that you're interested in, and you find the show that you want to go to, and you tell them what dates and times you're interested in and how many tickets you need. And what they do is they put you into a drawing. And if you're lucky, they'll draw you. And if you get, if your email or whatever it is, however they do it, gets picked, then they will notify you, and then you have a window of time to claim the amount of tickets that you said you needed for a heavily discounted price. So you have to be on it when they contact you. And it just so happened that they texted me while I was at the hotel during PopCon saying, you have been drawn for the July 6th evening show. And I'm like, okay, awesome. They're like, click here to claim your ticket. And I was like, okay, cool. The thing is you don't get to pick your seats.
Okay.
That's the thing, is you're in exchange for getting a heavily discounted ticket or tickets, you don't get to pick where you sit. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. However, again, me being a single person and not needing, multiple seats next to each other, if there's a bunch of seats taken and one empty one,
your chances are pretty good.
My chances are pretty good. Just a random row where they might all be sold except for one seat. and that's like, so I click and I'm like, okay, to confirm, this is the show, Wicked, Indianapolis, July 6th at 6:30. Yes, absolutely. I can do that. Like, okay, here's, here, enter your credit card information. Great. Pay for it. Then they tell me where my seat is located. Like at this point, I didn't care because it just meant I was
Like,
going to
"Give me
be in
the
the
ticket."
room to be
Yeah.
able to see Wicked. I could not do this again if my life depended upon it.
From the picture I saw, you had some pretty dang good seats.
I was second row center.
Whoa.
Nice.
Like orchestra, ground floor, second row from this stage, seat 7 of a row that like is probably like 20 or 25 across. So I was probably like maybe not dead center, but like a third
close to
of
it.
the way into the row. Yeah, pretty darn close to,
Part
to,
of me
to dead
wonders,
center.
how was that seat not already bought? The other part of me is, don't question it.
Oh yeah, I
Right.
know. I wasn't gonna
Yeah.
question it by any means.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it popped up and it told me where my seat was, I was like, I saw
Yay.
orchestra center, and I'm like, cool. I've been on the floor in the in the orchestra center before, several rows back,
Right.
like lots and lots of rows back. And then I saw the row, and I'm like, wait, what? B?
Pinch,
You mean like
pinch,
the one right after
pinch.
A?
not double AB.
Yes, because there is a double B. Like there's so many
Yeah.
rows of the alphabet, they have to start doubling the letters for the rows because there's more than 26 rows.
Yep.
To get to the back of the house. I was like, wait, well, there's a B, seat 7? Okay.
Trying not to have a complete and total freak out, but yay.
Yeah. I mean, when I got there and sat down, it was obvious that the people to the right and left of me all knew each other. That's why that single seat was empty.
Right.
Because they were a group. And it just so happened that between these groups, there was a single seat that had not been taken.
Right.
So.
Well, luckily,
Yeah.
I mean, good thing, one or the other group didn't have just one more person.
Right?
Yeah. But you want to know the real kicker? Again, could not do this again if my life depended upon it. When I say heavily discounted, I mean heavily discounted. I think the educator rush tickets they were offering were like $55, $60, which I mean that's not
still
bad.
Reasonable for what you were going to see.
I paid for this seat. I paid $30.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Jackpot.
Yeah.
The ticket gods
Second
smiled
row
upon you.
center for $30 for Wicked.
They were smiling upon you. Oh, you
So yeah. I was very happy camper. Of course, that meant I had to wait for more than a week to see it. But
hey.
from the time I purchased till the time of the show, but well worth it. I mean, once I finally I got there, I ate, got back to the venue, got through security and all that fun stuff because they have to check your bag and they gotta put you through a metal detector and then scan your ticket and all that fun stuff. By the time I got to my seat, there was like 5 minutes before the show started. So, but yeah, I got seated. I had my program, my little playbill. And next thing I know, the music starts and the curtain, is like this giant map of Oz. With Emerald City in the middle, and then it shows you where Munchkin Land is and Winky Country and all that fun stuff. And then of course, the music starts and it's the same music as the movie starts with, the same overture. And the map rises up in the air. There's the munchkins or whatever, people of Oz, and they immediately go into good news, she's dead, and I'm just like, ha. And then Glinda comes down in the bubble dress, and I cried. Like, I knew it was coming, but there's like, those that know, you can just say bubble dress without anything else, and theater kids will know exactly what you're talking about. It's this blue, because of course they can't do the pink, just like they can't do the ruby slippers because they can't infringe on MGM. So Glinda, when she comes down in her bubble, which is really this giant this giant metal round thing that's got a bubble machine built into it, so it's throwing out actual bubbles the entire time. But it's this gorgeous blue ball gown with all of these layers and sparkles, and she's got the staff and all the crown and the ringlets and the golden hair and everything, and she's descending from above down to the people of Oz, and it's just like, just to see that, I was like, it's the bubble dress, and to be that close and to be able to see it that well, I was like, oh, it's so pretty. Oh, honestly, sitting that close as somebody who unfortunately will see costumes and be like, oh, that'd be a fun cosplay. Who hasn't made a new cosplay in a long time and has several in various states of not being completed. There were several times like, ooh, that'd be fun to make.
And you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh. So, but yeah, I mean, and of course, it's very much like the movie. I'm not going to get into it a whole bunch, especially the second half, because I know there are people that are only watching the movie and have not seen the stage production, so don't know what's going to happen in the second half when we get the second half later this year. But the plot is the plot. The characters are the same. The characterizations are exactly the same. Every Glinda puts her own little spin on it, and the gal that's currently playing Glinda right now, she's adorable. Her mannerisms during Popular are hilarious. She's so funny. Even Elphaba, because Elphaba can be funny. It tends to be more of a dry, sarcastic sense of humor, but she's still quite funny, and both of them extremely talented as far as singing. Defying Gravity, I don't think there was a dry eye in the entire audience. I did my best to not sing out loud to pretty much every song. I could hear the people around me though singing. Like, if they had suddenly needed some backup singers, we all probably could have. I don't think we would necessarily been at the same caliber, but we could have done it. Like, we knew the words. If you just needed voices,
direst of emergencies.
Yeah, like, if you just needed some voices to help flesh it out, we could have offered. But of course, Defying Gravity, we're all just like, then it's intermission, and we're all like, the lights come up so people can go to the bathroom and stuff, and everybody's just like, jaws on the floor, like, oh my God. And then we come back, and the second half is much darker than the first half. It still has its funny moments, but the second half much darker, very heavy in the feels. I'm very excited to see how some of these numbers end up coming across on the movie screen. No Good Deed is extremely powerful,
Nope.
So, and then of course, For Good, again, tears. It's probably also gonna make me cry for the movie as well. I was not prepared tissue wise for the amount of crying I did during this show. So, not at all. Like, I was like going into the movie later this year. I know I'm going to be stuffing the pockets full of all the tissue that I can get in there. Thankfully it's winter time, so I'll have coat pockets and pant pockets. I'll have plenty of pockets to shove full of Kleenex. I'll to bring an entire box of Kleenex with me. I don't think anybody would think me weird. They'd probably ask for some.
They'll be like, "Hey, are you trying to sneak in a box of milk duds?" No, I need my
no, bitch, just
Kleenex.
Kleenex because For Good is gonna make me die. Oh my goodness. So yeah, and then the show was over. And of course, sitting near the front, blessing it a curse. Because suddenly everybody trying to leave the theater, it's like people getting off an airplane, where it's just like, just I just stood there. I just waited, and because this is the last show before the tour moves on to the next city, they immediately started tearing stuff down. Almost immediately after the show was over, they brought the house lights up, the map of Oz came up, and they were taking fake plants. And the orchestra, of course, the orchestra's packing up their stuff because their instruments have got to be put away. But there's stage hands just pulling stuff down and making piles, and which was kind of cool actually to stand there and watch that for a little bit. And I'm taking pictures of the time clock, or the time dragon is sitting at the very, very top, right above the stage, at the very top of where the curtain is. I was posting in the chat. I'm like, if I was any closer, I would be up the time dragon's nose. Seriously. So I'm taking pictures of the dragon and some of the set that you can see from where I could see down into the orchestra pit. So that was really cool. And then eventually people cleared out. Again, it's like people trying to get off an airplane. It's like, just go out the door and go where you're going. But no, they have to go. They have to stop, make sure the people they're with are following them. There's only one way out. I mean, there are a couple of exits, but still, as far as immediate exit out of the theater itself, there's only the one door in front of you. Based on where you're sitting,
one way out.
Based on where you're sitting, there's just the one set of doors. It's like orchestra center has these doors, right? These doors, left, these doors, balcony, those doors. So
that's hard to follow.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then I, of course, I had to stop by the merchandise line.
Of course, as one must.
Of
do
course,
when
because I
going
didn't
to
have time beforehand because I got there so close to curtain. And bought a T-shirt and bought a ornament. I guess that's a thing now that I'm doing with these shows and I guess that's something that these shows are doing as well, is they're selling ornaments, themed ornaments. I bought one at Beetlejuice that's the sandworm. And it's all in color. This one was it's Elphaba with holding her broom up in the air, in defiance. It says Wicked on it. So yeah. And then time to go home. It was cute though, because they had the poster on the wall there in the lobby, and people were stopping to take pictures, and there was a someone who worked there at the theater that was nice enough to be taking pictures for them, like on their phone. But there's this one little girl that he was taking her picture, and she very much was the Billy Burke or Ariana Grande bubble look, the pink frilly dress, giant glittery crown. So he was taking pictures of her in front of the poster, you know, the iconic poster of Glinda whispering into Elphaba's ear. And like her mom or whoever was with her, and I think like grandma or whatever, you know, wanted a picture with her as well in her nice life. This girl probably had to have been like 5 or 6 or something. She was adorable. And he was like, no, don't just stand there, you know, like your stereotypical, you know, look at us, we're standing in front of a poster of our kids in a costume type picture. He had the mom and the grandma bend down and pose like they're whispering into her ears.
Aha.
So I was like, oh, that's so cute. It's like, give this guy a raise.
Good job, theater dude. Person.
Yes. Yeah, that was very cute. So yeah, there was a number of little girls dressed up. Lots of Glindas. That tended to be the slightly older that were more alphabet coded, more emo. I went with a little bit of everything. I was wearing a black top, green pants, and a pink jacket. And my shoes had a little bit of silver on them, just like Nessa Rose's shoes. So, and then I had rainbow earrings in. So I was the Wizard of Oz Wicked bounding ish, and a hat. Hats, I like hats. That, and I had not washed my hair, so it's not necessarily having the best hair day. So I was like, oh, wear a hat. It's really smart. We deserve each other, that hat and me. So yeah, that was my weekend ish. Long weekend, very long weekend.
Sounds like it.
You can't starting at Wednesday, from Wednesday evening until late Sunday evening. I was a busy girl, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, I'm glad that I don't really have anything on my plate for the next several days.
You can decompress.
I can decompress a little. So, although I did get up and go to the gym this morning.
Yay!
So,
good for you.
Yeah, all I did was cardio. I'm not supposed to overextend my wrist quite yet. So, there's still some tightness and some I don't quite have full range of motion from the carpal tunnel surgery yet. But when I got my stitches out, she said, give it a couple weeks and then you can do some light exercising. But she's like, you won't really have full range of motion for a while, actually. It's such a minor surgery, but it's kind of a big deal because you are cutting into bits and pieces that make like your hand work. So it's like, this is kind of how part of your hand and your wrist function and your arm. So, they went in there and jostled around some stuff and cut some things. So, it's going to be a little angry for a while. But, I figure cardio was safe enough. So, but yeah, I'm going to go back to work when the school year starts. And they were like, what'd you do over your summer vacation? I'm like, what did I not do? Would be more the question.
Yeah.
Like,
how many points do I give myself on a scale of give yourself a point for the things you've done and give yourself no points for the things you haven't done?
Yeah, I was like road trips, corgi encounters, shows, conventions. I've gotten 2 new tattoos over the summer. And I still have I still have several weeks left. Who knows what kind of trouble I can get into between now
You're,
and the
you're
start of
gonna
school.
you're gonna
Oh,
pack
boy.
something in there, I am sure.
Sure.
Yep.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we yeah. So if anyone else is jealous of Rachel's summer thus far, like some of the rest of us, although I wouldn't complain about sitting in a cold convention center given how hot it's been today. So that part, I'm like, I need the icebox.
Yep.
But if you want to chime in and like, if you have any thoughts on any of these wonderful activities that Rachel's regaled us on, please send us some feedback. Our email address is fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also visit our website, which is thefivishfangirls.com, and there you will find our social media links, our show notes, places you can leave comments. We'll treat those as feedback. You can also find links to our Patreon and our merch store and other places that you can just help support the podcast. It is very much appreciated. But even if you are I say just in air quotes, listening, because you're not just a listener, you're one of our audience, and we love you for it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the support and the feedback and the likes, the follows, all that good stuff. You're awesome. We really do love you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Alrighty. Well, with that, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Damon saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. My future may be unlimited, but my bank account is not. Probably a good thing that summer's almost over. Thank you, our Fiveish fam, for joining us on this week's geeky journey. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Stay connected with us on our website, thefivishfangirls.com, and follow us on most social media with @FivishFangirls. Plus, check out our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back, to see how we're making a positive impact in our community. Until next time, stay nerdy and let the squee continue.